Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have our very first look at the Tier 6 premium cruiser for the Italians, the Abruzzi. I don't know. At this point I figure I'll butcher everybody's ship's names at this point. Abruzzi, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to work with me on this one. Either way, let's get to the captain. We've got Luigi Sansonetti. We've got Beyond Range, Igniter. We are running Subtle Manipulations and Fixated. Fully packed as our legendary skill. We are only a level 7 commander and we have Norman Scott as our inspiration. Now, we go over here, we'll look and see that we have Aiming Systems Mod 1, we'll have Propulsion Mod 2, and we have Concealment System Mod. What does all this mean? Well, as you can see, we're running our community contributor flag and the Type 9 permanent camo that comes with the ship. Now, this ship does not get smoke. Unlike most of the other Italian cruisers, this ship does not get smoke. It does get sonar, but keep that in mind. It's not a particularly good sonar, so there's that, and you lose your smoke, so not preferable. Catapult fighter's still there. The stats, you got 32,500 hit points with this build with a 16% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery, you have a lot of 152 mil guns. You got 6 plus 4, so 10 guns in total. They reload every 7.5 seconds. With our current build, they fire out to 15.7 kilometers, and the turrets rotate in 24 seconds, which isn't bad but isn't good. Maximum HE shell damage is 2100. Chance to set fires is only 9%, which is not good. AP shell damage of maximum is 3162. It's got some secondaries. They're 100 mil and they fire HE. They reach out to 4.7 as well. Now, if we look at our torpedoes, we do have one 3-launcher on either side of the ship. They fire 533 millimeter torpedoes that reload in a minute and 11 seconds. The maximum damage is 13,367. They have a very good detection range of only 1 kilometer, but they are very, very slow and a very, very long-range torpedo. 12 kilometers with 51 knots. I have caught some people slipping with these torpedoes, but yeah, it's a pretty good torpedo, other than the fact that it's slow as crap. So you really gotta anticipate what the enemy is going to do before launching. Maneuverability, maximum speed is 35 knots, which is pretty good. Turning radius of 680 is not bad. Rudder shift time 8.9 is a little slow for a cruiser, I believe. Concealment. Detectability by sea is 9.2, which is very good. The detectability by air is 5.8. The detectability guaranteed is 2, as always. And detectability while firing in smoke is only 4.9 kilometers for this ship. So it's very, very good inside a smoke screen. Unfortunately, it doesn't get its own smoke. Overview. Hidden. Good concealment means the ship can get closer to the enemy before being detected. That is true. Fast is also true. And it's only got 152 millimeter guns, so it's considered modest. The top and most powerful ship in a series of Italian... Oh, God. Condottieri? I don't know. Light cruisers. Unlike her predecessors, she boasted more powerful armament and significantly improved protection, but couldn't travel as fast. She entered service in 1937, and there were 2 of them in the series. So let's take a look at her. I like the camo. A lot of people were asking about why the decks are painted red like this, candy striped, and that is because they had an unfortunate accident where their bombers kept bombing their own ships. So they were like, okay, we have to do something to keep our bombers from bombing our ships. So they started painting the decks red and white. That gives their bombers a better target of who they're supposed to be bombing. And so, yeah, definitely not preferable. Of course, that works both ways. Your bombers can see who they're not supposed to bomb, but the enemy bombers can see exactly who to bomb. So definitely a two-edged sword there. But anyway, she's a good-looking ship other than that. But I'll be honest with you right off the bat, I am not a fan of this ship. Luigi di Savoia? Interesting. Somebody's going to have to let me know what that is in the back. That's obviously a name, or at least looks like a name. and then I didn't read what was underneath it. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Crash Zone, and we're going to spawn in the right side of our spawn, unfortunately. Now, I'll be real honest. Do I think that this is a bad ship? No, but I do think that most solo players are not going to have much fun in it, and I will go over that for a reason. It doesn't have smoke. Now, if you think about it, most of the cruisers in the game don't have smoke, and they do just fine. So I think most people will probably be okay playing the ship. But it really, really struggles when it is the only thing the enemy focuses on. It's not particularly maneuverable. Now, that is to be taken with a grain of salt, just due to the fact that we don't have the steering gears on this, which normally I do run on my cruisers. But I do a lot of stopping and starting in this ship, so I thought propulsion mod was probably the better bet. And anyway, so we're going to push over here to the right and try to get things going. Now, the biggest issue that I have with this is the fact that while it does have 12-kilometer torpedoes, and they do catch people off guard quite often, it's not very practical, because it does tend to get citadeled very, very easily, especially when you take a single round, no matter where it seems to hit you. It's kind of like a Pensacola in that regard. Like, it just seems like anytime you take a big round anywhere on your ship, you get citadel. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice in this that isn't an issue in the Zara is the fact that this seems to have a higher firing arc, which means it's a lot tougher to land good shots on people. Now, it's not a particularly good fire starter, even though you're going to see me get some fires in this one. But as you can see, we're shattering a lot of rounds of high explosive off of that battleship. Now, keep in mind, we are also running the subtle manipulation skill, which decreases our armor penetration on our armor piercing rounds by a whopping 90%. Or up to 90%. I forget how it goes. Anyway, Mayhan decides to throw his ship away, so I'm going to oblige him. Now, I don't know exactly what he was thinking, but he was incredibly wrong. He gets touched by me initially, and then a battleship helps hit him. We have our hydroacoustic running, so we see his torpedoes from a long way away, and our battleship should be able to avoid those torpedoes as well. Now, I have a Nelson and an Ishmael with me, and the Ishmael is just going to throw his ship away as quickly, if not quicker, than that Mayhan just did. Okay, not as quick as the Mayhan, because he's got more hit points, but the amount of damage that he's going to take in the next few moments is pretty ridiculous. He doesn't have to push all the way out. There's only 3 of us in the southern part of the map. We have to buy enough time for our ships to win their side. I apologize for yawning, guys. I haven't been sleeping well the last couple days because of my sun poisoning issue. If you guys are unaware, Saturday I went fishing with my sister, my nieces, her husband, and my dad. And while we did have a good time, we caught several fish. I caught a bunch of little bluegill, nothing major. My sister ended up catching a nice bass, probably 2.5, 3-pound bass. But it was hot. And they made us go right in the middle of the day, unfortunately. And so I was pretty miserable. That sun was cooking me. And I have really, really, really sensitive skin anyway. And so when you couple that with the fact that I didn't wear sunscreen and I'm paying the price. My face is still swollen. It's just miserable. It's hard to even talk, let alone do anything. Anyway. If you've never actually gotten sun poisoning, it's probably because you have normal freaking skin. Most people don't get severe sunburns the way I do. I've had sunburn so bad that I blister like extremely bad. It looked like somebody just took a blowtorch across my skin. It's that bad. And there is a perfect demonstration of the one shell that got around that island, hitting my ship and citadeling me and taking half my health. One shell. And it's not the first time it's happened. I've played, I don't know, 10 games, something like that, in this thing. And, well, like I said, it's not a bad ship. Don't get me wrong. Like, you will have plenty of decent games in this. But it's not one of those ships that I'm going to be buying. I mean, it's just, there's no real reason. When you have the Tech Tree Zara out there, which personally I think is a better ship. It's got 203mm guns, which just hit harder in everything that you do. And these things take a while to get to their target. And then when they hit the target, they're not really that effective. And even using the armor piercing, I tried a couple games without subtle manipulations, and I was getting nothing but cruisers against me. And of course, every time I shoot a cruiser with it, it's almost always just overpins. So then I put the subtle manipulations on, and I'm like, alright, this should be okay. And it's ho-hum to say the least. I'm not getting overpins, but I'm not actually doing a whole lot of damage either with armor piercing. And so, it's just, I don't know, it's not preferable, is what I would say. This ship just, again, while it's not the center of attention, does fine. You can nickel and dime people just like any other cruiser out there, and as long as you're hitting your shots, you're going to be okay. But the moment that you become the sole focus of the enemy team, you're not long for this world. You bow tank, you stern tank, you try to kite, you try to dodge, and like I said, it all comes down to if you get hit one time, it's devastating. And it's kind of like the same issue that I ran in with the Pensacola, except the Pensacola's guns are so much better. I'll take the Pensacola's 8-inch guns over these things any day of the week. If I had to choose between having subtle manipulations on and not having subtle manipulations, I don't think I'm going to be using subtle manipulations. It just doesn't have an upside to me. I'm not getting good, like, I haven't gotten a Citadel since I put subtle manipulations on cruisers or battleships. So, and it's not for lack of trying. I've had some broadside hits on cruisers at decent ranges and still just got normal full penetrations and no actual Citadel. Now here the Zara comes around the corner of the island and he kind of puts us in a bad position. So I'm trying to dodge both him and the York. And, oh, by the way, they're still shooting at us with the battleships as well. And so we're trying to avoid that as best we can. And we've taken very little damage from the cruisers up to this point. But this thing does take a lot of damage from HE as well. And unfortunately, we're going to run into an island. All that dodging kind of put me right into the island, which is not preferable. And y'all been getting on me too about saying preferable, so I apologize to those people who don't like hearing it. It is difficult for me to stop saying something. It's just the way I normally talk. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, we're getting ready to change our tune because we have two battleships pushing up this direction, and so I figure we should be able to handle our own against these two cruisers. The only bad part about it is it's not just the two cruisers. One cruiser can't even shoot us. It's a York out here. We've got two battleships on my right, one battleship out in front, and you can see I'm using high explosive still, setting fires on the York. He just damage conned, so if we can get another fire, that would be great. Unfortunately, we don't. So now he's given us a very good angle to hit him with armor piercing. Now watch these hits. 29-24, not a bad shot. We bounced 3 rounds, unfortunately, but we did get 3 penetrations. And there's another 3600, and you can see that you can get some good damaging salvos out of these. But unfortunately, it's just the amount of damage that you take in return. The enemy battleships finished with our Nelson. Of course, they're now shooting us. The Sinop's coming around the corner. We just destroyed the torp tubes of the York, which is preferable. There I go again. But unfortunately, we don't manage to take out the York. Just not able to do enough damage quick enough to get him. Now, the torpedoes that we launched, we originally launched them at the York, but we launched them there with the anticipation that the battleship was following him. And we do manage to get a good hit on the Sinop. Now, look at the amount of health that the York was left with. That's just annoying. We didn't get our second kill, but we finished with 70,000 damage done. We carried ourselves. We survived as long as we could. Our team is now in a position where they can defend the caps that we do have and get shots on the battleships that are out here. But Unfortunately, both of our battleships are going to have a case of the must-sail broadside disease, and with 3 battleships out there shooting back at you, you just can't do it. And this Bayern here, while it does have decent armor, is not going to like how much damage these enemy ships hit him for. Now, the Sinop originally fires at our cruiser and does some good damage to the cruiser, but the Sinop should be killing this Bayern right now. The Sinop he's got to know torpedoes are on the way. I believe it's a York right there, right? That's charging in, trying to torp him. And unfortunately for the Sinop, he is going to take a torpedo. They do get rid of the... I was the Nuremberg, that's why. They do get rid of... I guess he didn't take a torpedo there. But our destroyer is now going to charge in. We've got the 2 battleships, both sailing broadside to all of the battleships in the game. The last known of the destroyer was off to the left side of our battleships. And they also still have the Zara that survived. Now, as you can see, I'm kind of looking around, seeing what we got. We've got a Bayern and T-61 that are in a division, and we have the Scharnhorst who's left after our Bayern goes down. Now, Scharnhorst has the easiest kill of his life right here. All he has to do is hit the Bayern, but he's in a German battleship, so that isn't always easy. Needless to say, he does manage to hit the Bayern, finishes him off. This Colorado is also sailing around broadside onto everything, but as you can see how much health this Scharnhorst has lost in these few seconds that he's been focused, he has lost almost half his hit points. Why? Because he's sailing around broadside like a doofus. Now, the good news is they just lost their Sinop, and our Scharnhorst is dodging torpedoes. Now, because of the fact that our Scharnhorst is dodging torpedoes, he manages to spot the Asasio. He also has a great shot at the Zara and completely whiffs because German battleship didn't even hit him. Now, his secondaries are very good, and so even though the Asasio is spotted off to his left, he can't really afford to leave the Zara alive. He needs to get rid of that Zara. That Zara is actually getting quite a bit of damage, even with his armor piercing. So he needs to finish off the Zara as quickly as possible. Now, we have a points lead, so as long as we maintain the points, we should be fine. And with the Asasio whiffing on his torps, all this freaking Scharnhorst has to do is get one good hit on that Zara, and he finally takes him down. Now, he's only got 9,000 hit points. The enemy Colorado is still shooting at him. Now, he's going to do what I consider the right thing, and that is make some distance between him and the enemy destroyer. Just get away from him. We have the points lead. We have all 3 caps. Don't do anything stupid. And he turns all the way back around and has all 3 of his guns already positioned, ready to fire on this broadside of the Colorado. Except that he takes a nasty hit from the Colorado first. So it's one of those things where you probably want to pay attention to where the rounds are coming from before you go full broadside. If he'd have sailed away a little bit longer, he'd have probably held a little bit more health. But he is using a heal. He's back up to 8,700, 9,200 health. And the Colorado is in a bad way. He's sailing straight towards an island, much the same way that I did. And that heal just saved his Scharnhorst's life. He also slowed down. I'm not sure if he slowed down and that saved his life or not, but he definitely didn't hurt himself by slowing down. And the Colorado just sitting out there broadside, just begging for it, as the friendly destroyer gets closer and closer and ready to torp him. Now here we see German accuracy at its finest. He gets several hits, but because German armor piercing is not particularly good in their battleships, he bounces and shatters off to the side with his 283mm gun. However, the T-61 lands his torpedoes, taking out the Colorado. We still have the lead in points, and the game is winding down with under 1 minute to go. The Asasio starts shooting at the T-61. Now, normally in a Japanese destroyer, you're not really looking to pick a fight with a German destroyer. However, with this T-61 in a position where he has lost a lot of hit points. This isn't a bad fight for the Asashio, other than the fact that the Scharnhorst can also shoot him. The Asashio is going to get much more damage per salvo if he can hit him, but he's having trouble hitting him, which is unfortunate. Because, honestly, this T-61 should be dead right now. But T-61 still pecking away at him, only gets 4 guns. And the Asashio, once again, just completely whiffing on his shells. And there's the torpedoes. Everybody knew those were coming. Didn't even need to use your sonar for that. And the game is over with us finishing 900 points. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I personally am not a big fan of this ship. I play solo most of the time. It's not a very good solo ship. I've had some good runs in it, but damage-wise, it's just not having it for me. So we finished with 2,000 base XP, not a bad game. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.